understand.
but
An English window.
what all that to say, when I was doing social media, we actually went through a church rebrand, and I kind of oversaw it. I worked with a team that did it, but I learned a lot from them. And so I've actually done 2 rebrands, and I'm working on my 3rd. So if you're interested, I would be able to like get you set up with like color palettes and logos and all that stuff. But just let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate that offer. It's honestly probably something I need to.
What a pass.
well, it's something I need to figure out on my own anyway.
For sure.
You know, because
Yeah, I get you.
it's something.
Well, and even if it's giving you, because I do work in Canva, but like even if it's giving you the assets and getting you 20% started, I would love to be able to help wherever, just to help my own portfolio next time I go to people. But anyway.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the offer.
Yeah.
But, I think it's yeah, I think I prefer. I would just prefer to do it just to learn on my own. It also would. I also do think like just to be kind of honest about it. It would be weird to like have the stances I have. I feel like, and then be like, hey, this pastor created all this art for me. Like I don't know. It would just feel like it would feel contradictory to me. So
contract work. I mean, I know obviously we started the conversation with business owning and stuff, but I feel like contract work is different too.
Yeah, I mean, I just, like I said, to be blunt about it, I just don't like want any association with anything Christian. To put it bluntly. So
got you.
So now maybe there's some exceptions to that I had to think of in the future. You know, it's not like I don't give Christians credit for anything ever, but when it comes to like the things that are on my label and my logo,
no, I understand.
You know, I just like to keep it in a specific
for sure.
Specific, what would you say, boundaries, I guess.
Yeah,
specific messages I want to give out.
I get you. It's kind of what we started the conversation with.
Yeah,
so that's cool. So I take it you will not be in church this Sunday for Easter Sunday.
No, I do what makes the most sense on Easter, which is to hang out with the Easter Bunny. So it's kind of funny though. That I feel like that when you when I just told you that thing about like not like that it would feel contradictory.
Yeah.
That face you made is like the reaction I expect pretty much all the time. Where I feel like people don't understand like the level of association I'm trying to have with things sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I don't know. I guess, is it different for you? Like if you had someone who was like very against your faith, would you be okay with being like, hey, they made this for you?
So I'll use an example from kind of my experience. You know, I still do music, even though I haven't released anything since like 2018. I have some music that is kind of sitting in the vault and needs to be mixed and mastered and put out, all that stuff. But I haven't done anything since 2018. But when I was like really involved in it, most of my concerts actually weren't at churches. I mean, I did stuff at churches, and I did stuff at Christian events, but a lot of my stuff, because Christian rap is like very niche. It's a genre of a genre. And so what I found worked for me was attaching myself to shows that were just other rap artists. And so like I would be a part of concerts where I would perform at bars or clubs or all these other things. I wouldn't change my content, and people knew my content. And I've done songs, like I did songs with secular artists, guys who were, you know, talking about all sorts of stuff. I just had a principle on my end of like, hey, I don't want cussing, I don't want this, I don't want this. And like that was kind of like how we did things. But I worked with people all the time, and I still have really great relationships with a lot of the guys who do music today, and in the area that I, you know, kind of grew up and stuff. And so for me, it's never been a thing of like let me say this, I can understand it, even though that's never been my kind of work with things. I would,
that's why I wanted to talk it out, because your reaction was so strong. I was like, I didn't know. I thought you were offended.
Like, no. I just am like, no. Yeah, just very, very surprising to like. There's no, I don't know, just no association with Christians, because like I would never.
let's talk that out.
Yeah, sure.
I think this maybe we can just talk about this.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that, it's not that a no association period,
Mm-hmm.
right? Again, I go back to, like, the housing you know how I was talking about having a housing company for the homeless, I wouldn't hire a Christian. But if me and you were to work on the same housing project, that's totally fine. Like, I'm not gonna, like,
Okay.
exclude you. Like, I would volunteer with Christians, I would work with Christians on the same project.
Understood.
But for me, this is like a label of me.
Mm-hmm.
My art, my channel, I feel very connected to it. Ironic, like, this our themes keep looping. When we
Yeah.
talk about, like,
It's
identity,
hilarious. Yeah.
this is something that I do identify with very strongly, and it's not something that, like, I feel like I can take like, the art the product, whatever, is not something that I can separate from my identity.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, if we're building, like, if we're helping, a group of homeless people, we're
Mm-hmm.
helping starving children, we're volunteering at a hospital, whatever it might be. That's something where we both, I feel like, we have that shared goal, and it's not representative in the same way that this is representative of me.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I want to be clear. It's not that I'm just like I'll never talk to Christians or
Yeah,
something
no,
ridiculous.
I didn't think that. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
again, so like again in the example that I gave, like I was the one who was setting the boundaries, and I feel like as long as, like, that's why I said contract work to me is different, because, like, for example, if you were to say, hey, I want you to do X, Y, and Z, and whether it's paid or unpaid, it's contracted work of, like, I'm working to do your thing. I feel like by default, I am aligning with what you're going for, even if personally I might disagree.
Well, okay. So this is an extreme example.
Yeah.
Okay, to help us think about this more.
Mm-hmm.
And just to be clear, I'm not saying you are
No,
this,
no, no.
but
You're good.
I'm giving an extreme to figure out a principle.
Yes.
Okay, so, like, I assume you would never have someone who is like a Nazi do work for you, right?
Probably not. Yeah.
Okay. It's not that bad, but it's the same principle.
No.
Whereas,
Okay.
like, because of, like, your stances on, like, the LGBTQ stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's something to where, like, it's not just that, like, we have a simple, like, I feel like for you, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the way you're thinking of it, like, with the people that, like, you rapped with or collaborated with,
Mm-hmm.
for you, it's more like, oh, we see things differently. But for me, I'm seeing it as, like, we have a fundamental disagreement on a human right, right? It's not like some surface level thing. It's something that's, like, way deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it feel like in again, not the exact same way, but the way that you were able to just say, like, probably not. I wouldn't work with someone who's like a Nazi. That's a very similar, though not nearly as bad, obviously, feeling to what I'm getting right now, where it's just like, okay, so, like, over here is like never work with Nazis, right?
Yeah.
Over
Yeah. Yeah.
here is like wouldn't want to, like, collaborate with you on this,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
like, the line is, like, here.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you're on the spectrum, but you're definitely not over here, if that
Yeah.
makes
Yeah. Yeah.
sense.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah. So I
No,
appreciate you taking me in good faith there
of
and
course.
understanding that I'm not calling you a Nazi, because I tried to do that to so many people, and they're like, "What, you're saying I'm a Nazi?" And I'm like, "I just said that I'm not saying that. Like, please try to
Yeah.
hear me out."
Yeah.
But anyway,
For sure. No, I like I said, like, let's see. We use a contracting company for our graphics. It's a church-based thing. A lot of the people there, everybody that I've met is a Christian. But I think, like, if somebody were to just want a graphic design job and work in this thing, and they were like an atheist, but they're just working for churches, I don't think that's on graphics. Like, you know what I mean? I wouldn't want them, like, speaking or anything like that.
well, okay, so that's a good example. You said, like, you wouldn't want them speaking.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like everything is me speaking. Like, every piece of
Yeah,
art,
and
everything
yeah, no,
put
and
out, you know what I
that's,
mean?
yeah,
So,
that's where I'm understanding and, like, going,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay, like, I get that. Yeah, like, we've even talked about, like, eventually having something in person. That would be, like, either
I
in a
would love
church
that.
or
Yeah,
at a conference or something like that. So, like,
yeah.
by the nature of that, like, there's the collaboration piece there too. But yeah, no, I think that's interesting. It's a way that I hadn't thought of it like that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's something to be frank about it, it's something that to be not actually, I don't think frank is the right word, to be vulnerable about this, because 'cause
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty self-conscious about this.
Yeah.
I recognize that I think of that differently than most people do,
Mm-hmm.
and so it actually makes me, like, a little bit nervous to bring it up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I always like when people have that, again, back to the identity thing, when people have, like, the reactions like you had, there's a piece of me that gets, like, defensive internally, and I'm just like, "Let me have my opinion." But at the same time,
Yeah.
I also know that, like, I have to balance that with, like, people have a right to express when they're surprised. You know
Yeah.
what I
No.
mean?
I.
So
Yeah.
but it is something, and I don't think I think it's very clear you didn't mean it in an offensive way. It
Yeah.
was
No.
just, like, surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is something that it's like as I'm getting older, I have to just realize, like, look, this is what I think, and I have to be vulnerable and just state it.
Mm-hmm.
I can
Yeah.
still grow from it. There
Yeah.
might be
For sure.
moments where I feel nervous, feel a little bit
Yep.
socially, like everybody's kind of looking at me, whatever. I might even be blushing right now. And that's just something I have to push through if I want to be like true to my identity.
Yeah.
And then, of course, that doesn't mean I can't update it or change my mind.
For sure.
So I just wanted to kind of let you know that is just like it makes me anxious talking about it sometimes because I realize it's one of those things where as soon as you say it, everybody looks at you, and it's like so.
Well,
But yeah,
I think it speaks to the level of commitment that you have to, what you're doing, and kind of where you're at. So like I think for me, I just recognize that there are people who might have differences of opinions that I can appreciate uh, the quality of work. I'm not saying that you're not appreciative of that. I'm saying like I can appreciate it to a level of saying, hey, I'm good partnering in this. I think I'm more compartmentalized, I think is what it is. And
I
you're
think I
more
know. Yeah,
holistic.
I think there's like. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was just saying. I think there's like a part of it where you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong,
Hmm.
but what you're basically saying is you can disagree on something, one feature of a person,
Hmm.
but also recognize they have a different feature that is good.
Yeah.
Right. Am I kind of basically getting at that?
Yeah.
I so I would agree with that. I just think there's certain situations like with how I present my label where it's like I understand you have some good qualities about you. For sure. Like
Hmm.
I think we think similarly in a lot of ways as far as like our goals and what that.
Yep.
But in some situations, like how I present myself, there's some things that are going to be so negative in my mind that it's going to wash out all the good things, at
Hmm.
least in this context.
Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
No, I get that.
So, but
I get that.
no, I appreciate you talking that out because it's just kind of is what it is.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and it's
Totally.
not, yeah.
Totally.
Well,
So
is there anything? I mean, is there anything else? We're going on 2 hours,
I know.
but if you want to keep talking, go ahead.
Yeah. Probably got like 15 or 20 minutes, but I think just
Sure.
continuing this thing. Where do you see the value of Christianity or of Christians in general?
Um,
Because I think that's kind of the next progression of the conversation we just had.
that's a good question, and it's funny that you say that because I was just listening to that interview from the New York Times with Bart Ehrman,
Mm-hmm.
and
I'm
he
about
actually
halfway
wrote a
through.
book. Yeah, it seems like the thesis of his books is basically that, or what he was saying. And I only watched it once, so I could have this wrong, but he basically gave a lot of credit to Jesus's teachings or
Mm-hmm.
something in the New Testament, from what I understand, and how that was like the whole idea of like loving your neighbor despite not knowing them is a thing that can be credited to Jesus or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Certainly, if I were to do the same kind of analysis that Bart did and came to the same conclusion, I would have no problem admitting that. I do think that one thing that I think the Christians do a great job of is you guys are on a very unified front. That comes with a lot of cons, in my opinion, because again, the whole Jenga tower thing of a lot of times, like if there's one seed of doubt, the whole tower falls. I think that's bad. And I think it gets especially bad when multiple people think that way because it reinforces it constantly. On the other side, though, the good part of the community is you guys have, like I said, unified fronts. You guys can come to a principle, you can come to like a thing you think, and you can execute it really well if you're unified. You could go to your church tomorrow and say, look, based on the teachings of Jesus, we're going to help the poor. And everybody's like, true, let's go build houses. And it's like, it's very ingrained in that way, I think. Other than that, I mean, it's hard. I think I don't really, honestly, even the cons, like the anti-LGBTQ stuff, I don't look at that as like that is. I'm trying to think how to say this. I would be against it if it was from any other religion too. And so for that same reason, all the good stuff that Christians do, I support it for the sake of the good stuff, helping the poor, community, I think you guys have it right to have a higher moral standards. I think that's an important thing. Obviously, we don't agree on what those always are, but I think the idea that you should have like a very like ethics is something that you should be serious about, and it's something that you should talk about. The meaning of life, all those things are very important. But and feel free to, if you need to ask some clarifying questions, that's true too, because I don't know if I'm explaining this well enough. But
I've got.
I feel like, yeah. So I'll just finish up real quick. I feel like it's tough for me to answer questions. I think this is what I'm trying to say. It's tough for me to answer questions of like, well, what do you think of like Christians or Christianity? I'm not really necessarily focused on like that label. I'm more so focused on like the stuff that is done, and I will either gravitate towards or away from that. So like before, when I said like I don't want to associate with Christianity for my stuff, it's because the anti-LGBTQ stuff is so heavily associated with that in my eyes, and it's so negative that it does a lot of washing away. Not, I shouldn't say washing away, but it outweighs the good, because you could have the good that you guys have without the bad. So that's why I have the stance that I have. And again, it's not that I'm anti-Christian. I'm just anti things that I find wrong. And it so happens to be that one of the cores of the Christian faith is like one of the things they find wrong, maybe more than one probably, is a really big deal to me. So again, the cons just outweigh the pros, if that makes sense. I'm not explaining myself as well as I could.
No,
that's the best I could do.
Well, I mean, I think like, so do you feel like Christianity is a net positive on society or a net negative?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know the answer to that question. Yeah. I think that you could have, I think that there's a lot of good things that Christians do that you could have without the supernatural stuff and the negative stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of the best answer I can give.
Got it. So because I kind of hear both, because you're saying like, hey, these stances are absolutely detrimental to your ability to like collaborate, right? But then
it depends on what you mean by collaborate. Again,
no.
Really important part of this is collaborate on who I'm representing me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Sorry. I didn't take that.
I would build houses with you and all that stuff.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Well, I mean, like we have the conversation now, so that to say that there's no collaboration is
exactly. Yeah, that would be stupid.
Sorry, that I thought since you had already done that I just didn't take it to its logical end.
You're fine.
So, but I do think you recognize the positive impact of Christians in society as well. What I'm asking is, are some of the things that Christians in particular do they outweigh some of the problematic positions that you say that we have?
Can you give me an example? Specifically, can you give me an example of something you guys do that the secular community doesn't do?
So we give over $100,000 to nonprofits, missions, organizations. I know obviously are going to be faith based, but some aren't, and some are just helping people, whether that's homeless shelters or whether that's schools. We have a strong partnership with a couple of the schools in our community and different things like that. And so over $100,000 of our tithing and giving is actually poured back into our own community, our state, and nation. Obviously, the world as well overseas. Some of those are missions organizations which are trying to, evangelize, but then other ones are just partnerships where there's a tangible help. Like, for example, we do benevolence giving. There was a guy who was getting locked out of his U-Haul, and like we were able to pay his fees so that he wasn't going to lose all of his stuff in the U-Haul. You know what I mean? So like things like that are stuff that we do. So is that, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, are those things better or outweighing some of the problematic positions that you would think that we have?
So again, I feel like I'm glad we're ending this soon
Yeah.
because I feel like I'm at like my capacity for listening. So I might have missed a few things you said, but basically what I got is you guys donate to a lot of like different charities, religious and non-religious, that help with things
Yep.
that are like objectively making the world better,
Yes.
helping people with food, unlike the guys you haul, etc. Honestly, the answer to the question is I don't know. I think part of it is I don't like to look at it that way. I think what I'm looking at it as like, could you have the good without the bad?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of me that gets that that's part of it that gets to me, is that like I feel like you can have all that good stuff and also just be like pro gay marriage and it would just be better. So for me, I'm just comparing the alternatives, if that makes sense. Now I understand why you're asking that question, because what I think you're getting at is, I'm saying these things of like not wanting to collaborate in certain ways I don't. So then there may be an implication there that therefore I think the cons outweigh the pros. Is that kind of why you're asking me that?
I think again, just hearing that and being able to
Yeah.
say, all right, so what is the view in the totality of like society and the way we kind of operate? So taking it,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah, I get you.
The best answer I can probably give you is just that I don't know. Again, I think what I tend to primarily think about is, can you have that without that?
Mm,
And can you have the good without the bad? And the bad is like so bad. Like it's like
mm,
think of how you would feel if a company was, or an agency or religion or whatever, that they were giving tons of stuff to the world, but they told black people they can't get married.
mm-hmm,
Like that's where I'm at with this, where it's like you can feel it, you can know that there's a lot of good, but the bad is so heavy. Does it exactly outweigh it? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, but I
mm-hmm,
just know it's so heavy that at this current point, I would not be as comfortable associating it with my label.
mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean I can't grow and learn more. That doesn't mean I couldn't change my mind, yada yada. But at this current point, that's where I am.
Yeah,
It's also possible I learn more and I still stay where I'm at.
yeah, for sure.
But that's the best answer I can give you. And hopefully that feeling of like, do you know what I'm saying though? Like with the whole, like, if black people get married, you'd probably be like, man, you guys do a lot of good, but like this is really, it's just hard to associate with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's basically like, it doesn't matter how many good things I do for you, how many compliments I give you, how many times I have you over for dinner. If I punch you in the face, you're gonna remember that forever.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand. I can understand that. I do think
And
that,
honestly, sorry, one more thing.
yeah.
That is a very, I think, human reaction. Like I recognize that might not be entirely You know what? I'm actually gonna take that back. I don't know if I want to say that.
Yeah.
Continue with what you were saying.
No, I just yeah, I just think the positions that you obviously, like, we've talked about them. I don't think they represent the totality of what I believe and where I'm at, because here, simply put, I think you think of this sexual ethic, particularly that I have and that other Christians have.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're putting way too much on that to describe, like, to describe where we're at. I truly don't think it's as I don't think it's as encompassing to our faith as, like, you're looking at it. And obviously
So
I
I
appreciate the
yeah.
perspective because it is an outsider's perspective.
Do you mind if I clarify something real quick that
Yeah,
could
go for
help
it. Go
actually
for it.
a lot with this? I think it's the worst. I think it is the one of the worst results of a terrible thought process. It's the thought process that is really, I think, detrimental to me. Like, the lack of critical thinking, the philosophical, and I would have to, this would be another whole conversation, and honestly, I should probably write about this to make it my position clear for you and others.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, the gay marriage thing is, like, horrible, obviously. It's horrible, but even beneath that is, like, a thought process, I think, that could lead to other bad things
Yeah.
based on, like, the logic of the thought process.
Mhm.
So it's like, so what I'm really seeing is, like, the anti-LGBTQ stuff.
Mhm.
If you think about it like a tree,
Mhm.
it's like a terrible branch, but if you look at the roots, whether real or not, have the ability to produce several other branches like that.
Mhm.
And so what I'm saying is the thought process underneath it all is what's very concerning for me. It's what is very against my ethics.
Yeah.
So I think, and so hopefully that helps clarify things, because
So,
I don't think, like, when I think of, like, Christians and Christianity, I don't think of, like, you know, every second of every day they're out there, like, calling people fags or whatever, or something extreme.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is very, it's whether it's talked about 80% of the time or 1% of the time during services, it's a really big deal no matter how much is talked about. And like I said, it's representative of something more corrupt at the root, I think.
Okay.
Which, again, if you want to be here for another 7 hours, we can talk about that.
I think it's just, I think maybe next month, or if we go to the end of
Yeah,
this
we
month
should talk
again or
about that.
whatever, we could revisit it. Because I do think it's probably worth revisiting even a year later on some of those things, because I think, like, I think there's a section of people that would like to see like gay marriage be reversed. But again, I think, like, for me, the sexual ethic that I hold, the view of marriage and all this stuff, if you don't want to follow it, like, follow the teachings of Jesus and be a Christian, I think you can go and do that. The problem that I've always had has been when people try to hold on to a Christian identity and hold to this. And again, I know we've had this conversation before, and I get that, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to conflate it to mean that, like, I'm out here trying to make sure that gay people don't exist, or that they can't do what they want to do.
I don't think you're against gay people having every other freedom, but the one thing that
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think you think
yeah,
is
I can
immoral
confirm it.
is like a really big deal. That's I think
Which
that's where I
part?
come to it.
Which part?
The marriage part. I think the marriage part is a really big deal. I mean, again, the same feeling that you would get if black people couldn't get married is exactly how I
But
feel
I
when
think
people
they
say gay
can.
people
That's what
couldn't
I'm
get married.
saying.
No, I know what you're saying, Josh, and I don't want to, like, get too combative
For
on
sure.
this,
For
because
sure.
I think just for the because I think we should nail this down, because you keep coming back to this, and I keep thinking, to be frank about it, it's kind of a worthless area to go to,
Okay.
because what you're saying is, with all due respect, because what you're saying is like with the Christian, this is the Christian point of view, but I'm recognizing that other people view things differently.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't ascribe to that, I recognize that. Is that a fair summary of how you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand that. But what I'm more interested in is talking about the fact that you do want people to become Christian. You
Yes.
do want as many people to think how you want to think.
Yes.
And so
I
I
see what you're
want
saying.
people to think how I want to think. And so that is the battle. So what we should talk about is whether or not, whether a Christian thinks it, a secular person thinks it, whatever. What we need to talk about is why it makes sense to have gay marriage be legal and is morally right. I understand because I could say the same thing. I could say, well, I'm secular. You don't have to think what I think, and you're welcome to think what you think. That's true. Everybody has their freedoms to think what they think, but we should be able to have a separate conversation about which one of those differing opinion is more logical, which one is more ethical, which one is more consistent, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what people do, like when they vote for like, I mean, that's how our government works, right? It's like
Yes.
the Democrats have the right to bring their portion of the bill. The Republicans have the right to bring their portion of the bill. But where the real meat of the conversation is, let's talk about why we think one or the other is better for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Christians, non-Christians, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases, even animals, if you want to be a vegan.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
you know what I mean, though, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, my mic was muted that whole time. That's so
Well,
tragic.
we have had that conversation, and I do have the recording, so I can always.
Okay, good. I'll put that in. Damn,
Yeah, for
Dream
sure.
didn't see that though.
No, you're good.
You know what I mean, though?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. I just don't want it to be conflated that I'm trying to force other people, because there's a section of people who are Christians that would like to see it legislated out and like to see people go back into like being not back to it being taboo and all that stuff.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that yeah, I don't think you think that, but I think the result would be the same.
Okay.
I think you want the same result as someone who wants to force it. You just want to get there in a more gentle way. You want to get there by bringing people to that in a way that is like they feel persuaded, they're not forced, they understand it.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's more hardcore on that wants to say, you're going to do this. I don't give a shit. And my way of influencing is after hundreds of years, it's all going to be eradicated.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in both instances, you're both trying to bring people to what you think. And by the way, just a real
yes,
quick,
but people have the ability to make the decision.
Yes.
Yep.
Josh, I very much understand. Okay, I don't think. Let me be clear about this.
Yes.
I do not think you want to force your opinion on other people and take away their legal freedoms.
Yes.
I don't think what you're trying to do is say you're anti-gay marriage, therefore you're going to jail or something.
Yes.
Or you're pro-gay marriage, therefore you're going to jail.
Yes.
I don't think you want that. But what I'm saying is the result that you want by getting there more gently is the same result that the extremist wants. You guys both want it to be so that there are no LGBTQ marriages or no LGBTQ thoughts or anything. And so what I'm saying is I would like to talk about that, because that is what I disagree with. You don't think
no,
that really surprises me if you don't think that like you
I
really
want
think
people to make I want people to make a decision to follow Jesus.
Yeah. Okay. Which would result in what?
Which would
I'm not trying to
no. I you know the logical conclusion. We've had the conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I think there's a difference in, again, I don't think that I think it's a misrepresentation of the position to say that we are after the same logical end. Because what I want.
Why? What's the difference? Yeah, what's the difference?
Because I want people to be able to make the decision or to decline to make the decision. They have the ability to make the decision. Where people who are more on the fringe would like to see that decision forced upon the society, so that then people are coerced through punishment, through chastisement, through all of these things to make a decision.
Josh, I 100% understand what you're saying. Okay, let me put it in a simpler way.
Hold on.
Okay, hang on.
Okay. Yes.
You can go. You can go. I'll let
I
you
just
clarify.
the only no 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 the only thing I want to say is that in how you explained it, I was just making a clarification that that's not like my position or my heart in it.
Yes, I understand. Okay, let me try to summarize you again. Okay,
Yes.
so what you're saying is you would like people to come to the position of understanding that marriage is meant between a man and a woman, and the way this is very important for you. This next part, the way that you want that to happen is through a decision made by their own free will, in which they realize Jesus's word is the thing to follow that will bring us eternal salvation, right? And that is vastly different than someone who just wants to force it on us and wants to be kind of brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And is it because
But you're
what that person wants is more so for the sake of like them just being right, and you feel like you're more towards a path to Jesus?
no,
Is
I
that where
think
the difference is?
again, I think you missed the fact that when they make that decision, they can accept or decline. They want to continue to do that, that's fine.
But wouldn't you have it so that more people accepted it than declined it?
I mean, that would be my desire as a believer and as a pastor, but I also have the recognition that there are people who decide that that's not how they want to live their life.
I understand, Josh, but I'm saying in your ideal world, this just I don't see how this isn't true. Okay, in your ideal world, you want people with their own free will to come to the conclusion that Jesus's path is the way to salvation, and part of that is understanding that marriage is not meant to be outside of the confines of a man and a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's that. If everyone in the world thought that, that would maximize your happiness, as opposed to everybody with their free will not choosing that. Right? I'm genuinely not trying to trap you, and I
No,
feel like
no, no,
I feel like you're being really wary of a trap, but
no.
I'm not
I'm
trying to
not. I'm
trap you.
trying to think about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
No,
think
no,
about
not
it.
now. I'm saying like before, like you just you seemed slightly
No,
defensive.
the
I'm not trying
reason
to get at you.
the reason why I was
So you're
defensive is
doing
because
it right now. You're doing it
yes,
right now though. Like let's
yes,
just
the
this is not like a debate moment. I'm just
for
trying
sure.
to talk to you.
The reason why I'm defensive is because you said that we are at the same logical end. Yes, I have a desire that people would follow Jesus. Yes, I have a desire that people would make that decision. Yes, I am heartbroken when people don't make that decision. That is all true.
Mm-hmm.
But the way in which I respond to somebody who declines is not uh is not the same when you're saying that I have the same end as somebody who would like to see it forced. You have the idea that I think that there will be a time or I look forward to a world that will get closer and closer to Jesus, right?
That's true, right? Like you think that
Scripture doesn't say that.
you don't want the world to be closer and closer. You don't think the world would be better if everybody was closer to Jesus?
I do. However, scripture tells us that there will be a continuing falling away. So I don't have the expectation that the world is going to get better. I have an expectation that the world is going to get worse.
But if it, what I'm saying is, but I understand.
Okay.
But see, now we're talking about different things. You're talking about expectation. I'm talking about a desire. What your desire? This is what I mean, Josh.
Okay.
Okay. You want, from what I understand, everyone to, with their own free will, come to the faith, and eventually, as a part of that, as a part of coming to Jesus, you will understand that marriage is between a man and a woman. Okay. The what I'm saying is the person that it is an extremist, they're not going to cause, they might not cause as much direct harm, or they might cause more direct harm as you. Sorry, let me rephrase that. They might cause more direct harm than you would. They might be more forceful. They might not be doing it in the way that you feel is truly right because they're not actually coming to Jesus. They're just displaying a certain set of behaviors,
Yes.
right? And so all I'm saying though is the thing that you guys both have in common is that you both think the world would be better if you might have different reasons, but you both think the world would be better if everyone understood and took it into their heart that marriage is only between a man and a woman. I'm not like, this is just like a fact, Josh. You both think that. Like you don't have to deny that and also not have your points, because I'm not saying you're gonna like go shoot people in the head if they're gay. Like I'm not being facetious, because a pastor, I actually heard a pastor say that.
Yes.
That like gay people can be taken out back and shot in the back of the head or some shit like that, which is insane.
Yep.
I don't think you're anywhere close to that person.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, one of the reasons I talk to you is because I understand that, like, I feel like you have a progressive mindset, and I feel like you do have a genuine desire to come at things in a way that you truly feel like is helping people, and that you truly feel like you're making the world a better place. And you do that through what I see as very gentle, understanding means.
Mm-hmm.
I just say all this to say,
Mm-hmm.
I think that both the end result for both of you, you do think, although your motivations might be different, you do both think that if everyone in the world saw marriage as between a man and a woman, you would think that would be better. That's all I'm saying. And the reason that matters for me is because that's what we should talk about. I don't really want to, I don't think it's interesting. I don't think it's that interesting to talk about, like, when you say like, yeah, but I'm giving you like the freedom to do this. Now I'm understanding, I think. I shouldn't say it's not interesting, because now I think I'm understanding more why it matters so much to you, because what you're trying to do is separate yourself from the people who want to force it on others.
Mm-hmm.
And I commend that. But I just think I still think what I would really like to get into, and the meat of this is whether it's you or whether it's someone who's more extreme or someone of a totally different religion. I want to get down to why it is that gay marriage is something that we should not do ethically. Mm-hmm. That is the root. That is the root of what I'm interested in.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, that makes sense.
Okay.
But again, I think the sexual ethic of a Christian isn't just encompassing to gay marriage.
I understand. I understand, Josh.
Yep.
I understand that it's way more than that. I'm getting a little frustrated because you keep like you're clarifying things that I'm not saying.
Okay.
I'm not saying, like, I just want to focus on this right now. We can talk about things like sex outside of marriage. We can talk about how many partners. Those are all different things. And honestly, if you want me to be honest, I'm probably closer to a Christian perspective on something like sex outside of marriage than you might think. I'm not like save yourselves towards marriage. But I also don't like, if someone were to ask me, like, should I have sex with 100 people? I'd probably be like, first of all, I would say, if you think that's right, you can do that. I'm not going to, like, some people might find it right. But if you're going to ask me, what would I do? I would not be having sex with 100 people because I just wouldn't do it. But then again, I would put them out in the real world and say, but that might not be right for you. You make your own decisions. So, but anyway, I just say all that to say, like,
is that not the same? Is that not the same position that I have on, like, what you just said?
Because no, I know it sounds really similar, and I knew you were going to say that. Well, it sounds really similar.
Yeah.
No, I know it sounds really similar. Just let me clarify it.
I'm not.
Okay, let me clarify it.
Just asking.
What I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, when I say you can go out in the world and that can work, here's the difference. When I say you can go out in the world and choose what you want to choose, I think genuinely that someone can find happiness and live like a maximal well-being life and do that. When you say you have the freedom to do that, you think they have the freedom, but you don't think they're going to come to a good conclusion.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between those things.
Got you.
So, but I want to just like focus on this so we can work this out. So do you understand what I'm saying? And I would like, if you could, in just like a sentence or two, can you summarize what I'm saying? Because I feel like you talked a while and I gave you a summary and I really tried to understand. But when I'm talking, you're just giving me like a half set or like something very short. And then you're just saying like, yeah, but I want to come to like, I just want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So just give me like a 2-sentence summary or something.
So you think that the conclusion of what an optimized kind of world would look like is the same, and it's actually, and it's harmful. in the same way that whether it's being forced upon or whether it's that it's still there's a conversation around whether or not it's a net benefit or a benefit to society or not, that somebody can live an optimized life with that lifestyle. Correct?
Close. I'm saying
Okay,
I'm saying that someone can be polygamous, for example,
yes,
and live a life that is fulfilling. But if
yes,
they, at the same time, though, if they asked me which one is more likely based on knowing nothing about them,
mm-hmm.
I would say monogamy. But
Yeah,
what really matters is getting to know them, because
yes.
they might have a different. So that's my first thing. Again,
it's individualized.
real quick before
correct.
we move on, it's yes.
Yep.
But I would say yes. I think we can say yes and understand and have conversations about things that typically work and typically don't work, if that makes sense.
No, I agree, because I think you do make room for like what the trends are, but at the end of the day, it comes back to individual choices, and you can live an optimized, fulfilling life in different things. What works for somebody else might not work for somebody else.
Yeah, it's like that. It's honestly a lot like that for fitness, where it's like if somebody said like,
Yep.
should I get in shape and live my best life? I'd be
Got
like,
you.
yeah. But it's like, is there some random guy out there who wants to be, a little overweight, not give a shit about his health? He dies at 65 and he's like, yeah, I did that. Maybe that can happen 2% of the time.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, you know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
So, but again, real quick, before we move on, I really appreciate you doing that with that part of it. Could you now do the same thing for how I feel about the about what specific aspect I want to focus on with the gay marriage conversation and why? Because this is like the fourth time I feel like that we've gone back and forth on this, where you'll say like, yeah, but I want to, there is a difference, and I'm saying like, yeah, but here's this result, yada yada. So I just want to make sure like you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And here's my cat. Hang on.
Nice. That's awesome.
Say hi. Oh God.
It just attacked you. It's crazy.
I know.
So yeah, so you're more trying to develop or look at this not from a perspective of how we get there, but rather the result that comes from it, right?
Yes, and I'm trying to say, and what I'm recognizing for you is that how you get there matters, and I understand why that's important, and I understand that is the thing you've been trying to work out and to get me to understand. All I'm saying is, okay, gotcha. I understand what you mean, but now let's talk about the meat of this, which is why we think gay marriage is right or wrong.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're on the same page now.
Yeah.
That was probably the most productive 5 minutes of talking we've ever done. I just wanted to say that. I felt like I was in like a joint therapy session. That went really well.
Yeah, dude. No, absolutely. I mean, like, and